Donald Trump has made many statements about his plans. Below are the concrete items from Donald Trump's contract with the American voter, which contains his promises for his first 100 days. Day 1. Donald Trump coined the sinister phrase American carnage in his inaugural speech. But more chilling, some said, were the immediate changes to the White House website where Barack Obama's administration's information on civil rights, climate change, LGBT rights, healthcare, immigration, education and the Iran deal all vanished. It changed to just 6 issues with, for example, America First energy plan replacing climate change. Day 2. The Women's March on Washington descended on the U.S. Capitol, while in hundreds of cities across America and around the world women joined in a gesture of resistance against the new president's first full day in office, bringing a palpable sense of solidarity and determination to resist the backwards-looking agenda. Day 3. Rattled by the nation's biggest political demonstrations since the Vietnam War, Donald Trump and his aides spent an extraordinary first weekend in office falsely claiming that record numbers of people had attended his swearing-in on Friday. Kellyanne Conway, a senior White House aide, told NBC Press Secretary Sean Spicer had been offering alternative facts when he made several statements contradicted by photographs and transit data. Day 4. Donald Trump began his effort to dismantle Barack Obama's legacy, formally scrapping a flagship trade deal with 11 countries in the Pacific Rim. The new president also signed executive orders to ban funding for international groups that provide abortions, and placing a hiring freeze on non-military federal workers. Day 5. Donald Trump was sharply criticized by Native Americans and climate change activists after he signed executive orders to allow construction of the Dakota Access and Keystone XL oil pipelines. Both pipe projects had been blocked by Barack Obama's administration, partly because of environmental concerns. But Trump has questioned the science of climate change and campaigned on a promise to expand energy infrastructure and create jobs. Day 6. Donald Trump faced a fresh torrent of criticism on Wednesday as he moved ahead with plans to build a wall on the Mexican border via executive order. Trump also signed an executive order that could slash funding for so-called sanctuary cities, and reinstated the Secure Communities program, which encourages broader cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration agencies. Day 7. Mexican President Enrique Pena Nieto canceled a visit to Washington, over Donald Trump's insistence that Mexico will pay for his border wall. Pena Nieto said, Mexico reiterates its willingness to work with the U.S. to achieve agreements which benefit both nations. Speaking in Philadelphia, Trump claimed the decision to cancel was mutual. By the afternoon, Trump's press secretary said the president had decided to hit Mexico with a 20% import tax. Day 8. Marking a draconian shift in U.S. policy, Donald Trump issued an executive order that will deny refugees and immigrants from certain Muslim-majority countries entry to the United States. Trump's unprecedented action will indefinitely close U.S. borders to refugees fleeing the humanitarian crisis in war-torn Syria and impose a de facto ban on Muslims traveling to the U.S. from parts of the Middle East and North Africa by prioritizing refugee claims on the basis of religious-based persecution. Day 9. Donald Trump's executive order to close America's borders to travelers from some Muslim-majority countries caused chaos and confusion, as multiple people who had flown to the U.S. were held at major airports while others were barred from boarding flights or were pulled off planes overseas. As immigration and civil rights groups scrambled to understand the order, and as family members of the stranded tried to contact their loved ones, a sizable protest formed at JFK Airport in New York. Trump spent the day in Washington, speaking to 5 world leaders including Vladimir Putin of Russia and issuing an executive order to ban members of his government moving swiftly to lobbying firms. Day 10. Only a day after casting airports around the U.S. into confusion, and hours after the administration's first defeat in federal court, Donald Trump and his advisers flew into a defense of his vague and chaotically enforced ban on travel from 7 Muslim-majority countries. Chief of Staff Reince Priebus appeared to concede to the courts by saying the ban would no longer apply to green card holders, only to contradict himself within minutes. Meanwhile, attorneys told reporters rogue Border Patrol agents were still detaining people or trying to deport them. In a statement and a series of the tweets, Trump insisted the order was not a Muslim ban, cited Obama precedents, and insulted John McCain, Lindsey Graham and the New York Times. Day 11. Donald Trump faced an unprecedented backlash on Monday over his ban on refugee admission and travel from 7 Muslim-majority countries as Barack Obama warned, American values are at stake. Day 12. A dirty political fight roiled Washington as allies and officials rallied around Donald Trump and his controversial travel ban, while opponents escalated their tactics to thwart his administration at every turn. Republicans defended the president's ban on entry for people from 7 Muslim-majority countries and his decision to fire the acting Attorney General, Sally Yates, on Monday night for refusing to enforce it. Democrats boycotted votes on 2 of Trump's cabinet nominees and braced for a long battle over his imminent pick for the Supreme Court. Day 13. Donald Trump urged Republicans to use the so-called nuclear option to force through his Supreme Court nominee against Democratic opposition. The U.S. president named the conservative Judge Neil Gorsuch on Tuesday night to fill the vacancy on America's highest court left by the death of Justice Antonin Scalia nearly a year ago. Day 14. Donald Trump defended his unpredictable approach to foreign policy, which has shaken the political establishment and roiled activists across the country, during a speech at the annual Interfaith Prayer Breakfast in Washington on Thursday. The breakfast came hours after news reports detailed an extraordinary phone call between Trump and the Australian Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, which was abruptly ended by Trump. The president reportedly bragged about the size of his electoral victory, despite losing the popular vote, but grew cross when Turnbull asserted that the U.S. should honor an agreement struck by Barack Obama to accept 1,250 refugees from an Australian detention centre. It also emerged on Wednesday that Trump had apparently threatened to send troops into Mexico to stop the bad hombres down there unless the country did a better job of controlling drug trafficking, in a call with Enrique Pena Nieto, the Mexican president. Day 15. A busy day, new sanctions on Iran, an expressed intention to work with Congress to gut the Dodd-Frank reforms meant to guard against another Wall Street-fueled recession. The fallout from the travel ban was made busier by aide Kellyanne Conway's citation of an imaginary terrorist outrage in an interview with MSNBC. As the internet lit up with mockery of another alternative fact from the Trump White House, Conway said she misspoke, saying Bowling Green massacre when she meant Bowling Green terrorists. The media pointed out that both expressions were nonsense, as no terrorist act had happened or terrorists acted in Bowling Green, Kentucky. No matter, senior aide Steve Bannon came to the rescue. The media switched its focus to his Islamophobic script for an unmade film,